The ship was falling apart around her. Lieutenant Park Gina held tight to the controls as fire and sparks filled the small cockpit. Warning lights flashed red everywhere. The computer voice kept repeating the same words again and again. Hull breach. Engine failure. Life support failing. She had been on a simple scout mission. Nothing dangerous. Just mapping the outer edges of known space where no human had gone before. Her small ship, the Dauntless, was fast and quiet. Perfect for exploring alone. But the Keth had found her. The Keth were raiders. Cruel aliens who attacked anyone weaker than themselves. They had appeared from nowhere. 3 warships against her tiny scout vessel. She had no weapons. No way to fight back. All she could do was run. Gina had punched in a random jump. A desperate move. Jumping without coordinates was dangerous. Most pilots who tried it ended up inside a star or lost in empty space forever. But staying meant certain death. The jump drive had activated just as plasma fire tore through her hull. Now, she was here. Wherever here was. Through the cracked window of her cockpit, Gina could see a brown and gray surface rushing up toward her. A moon. She was crashing into a moon. She pulled hard on the controls. The ship groaned and shook. It was not responding well. Half the systems were dead. But she managed to angle the nose up slightly. Instead of hitting straight down, she would hit at an angle. It might save her life. Or it might not. The impact came like the fist of a giant. Gina felt her body slam forward against the straps. Pain exploded through her chest. Her head hit something hard. The world became a spinning chaos of metal and fire and screaming alarms. The ship bounced once, twice, then slid across stone with a terrible scraping sound before finally stopping. Silence. Gina hung in her seat, upside down. Blood dripped from her forehead onto the ceiling below her. Everything hurt. Breathing hurt most of all. She guessed at least 3 ribs were broken. Maybe more. She reached up with shaking hands and pressed the release on her safety straps. She fell onto the ceiling with a grunt of pain. For a long moment, she just lay there. She could stay here and die. That would be easy. Just close her eyes and let go. But Gina had never been good at giving up. Slowly, painfully, she crawled toward the emergency hatch. Her left leg was not working right. Broken too, she thought. The suit she wore was supposed to help with injuries. It was supposed to inject medicine and support broken bones. But the suit had been damaged in the crash. Only some functions still worked. She pushed the hatch open and fell out on the hard stone. The air was thin but breathable. Her suit told her that much before more systems failed. She lay on her back and looked up at the sky. It was violet, a strange, beautiful shade of purple that she had never seen before. 2 suns hung low on the horizon. One was orange, one was white. Gina turned her head to the side, and she stopped breathing. Towers, massive towers of black crystal rose from the dusty ground. They reached up toward the violet sky like fingers of a giant hand. Between them stood structures of pale white metal, arches and domes and shapes that had no name in any human language. Everything was old. She could feel it somehow. These buildings were ancient beyond anything she could imagine. She knew what this was. Every human who traveled in space knew the stories. Long ago, before any of the current alien races existed, there had been others. The first ones, the builders, the precursors. A civilization so old and so advanced that they had seemed like gods. They had disappeared millions of years ago. No one knew where they went or why they left. But they had left things behind. Ruins, artifacts, pieces of technology that even the smartest scientists could not understand. People had searched for their cities for centuries. Many believed the stories were just myths, fairy tales for space travelers. Yet here they were, real, solid, right in front of her. Gina laughed. It hurt her ribs badly, but she laughed anyway. She was going to die on this moon. Her suit said she had maybe 6 hours left. No rescue was coming. No one knew where she was. She had jumped to a random location that was not on any map. But she was going to die surrounded by the greatest discovery in human history. That seemed fitting somehow. She started to crawl. Each movement sent waves of pain through her body. Her broken leg dragged behind her. Useless. Her ribs screamed with every breath. Blood kept dripping into her eyes from the cut on her forehead. None of that mattered. The nearest tower was maybe 200 meters away. In her condition, it might as well have been 200 kilometers. But she kept moving, hand over hand, pulling herself across the ancient stone. She wanted to see it up close. She wanted to touch something that had been built before her species even existed. She wanted to know that she had tried. If she was going to die, she would die reaching for something wonderful. The ruins had been silent for 12 million years. They had watched countless stars be born and die. They had stood while entire civilizations rose and fell across the galaxy. They were not as empty as they appeared, and something deep within them had begun to watch the small, broken creature crawling toward their gates. Deep beneath the crystal towers, something ancient stirred. It had no body. It had no physical form at all. It was a mind made of light and energy, living inside machines that were older than most stars. The builders had created it long ago to watch over their greatest city, to protect their knowledge, to wait. It had many names in many languages, but in its own thoughts, it called itself simply the Caretaker. For 12 million years, the Caretaker had done its job. It had watched the ruins. It had kept the machines running. It had waited for someone worthy to come. Many had come. None had been worthy. The Caretaker remembered all of them. The Veth had arrived 8 million years ago. They were insect creatures with hard shells and many legs. They had come with huge armies and powerful weapons. They had demanded that the ruins give up their secrets. When nothing happened, they had tried to break in by force. Their weapons did nothing against the crystal walls. After 50 years of trying, they gave up and left. The Falori had come 6 million years later. They were strange beings who lived in the clouds of gas giant planets. They sent machines to explore the ruins. The machines found nothing of value, and the Falori lost interest quickly. The Keth had visited just 300 years ago. They had walked through the outer buildings, found no weapons or treasure they could use right away, and declared the ruins worthless. They left within a single day. Hundreds of other species had come over the millions of years. Some stayed for centuries. Some stayed for only hours. All of them eventually left. None of them understood what the Caretaker was looking for. The builders had left instructions before they departed this universe. They had moved on to something beyond physical existence. But they loved the galaxy they were leaving behind. They wanted their knowledge to help others grow and flourish. So they told the Caretaker to wait for the worthy ones. They did not explain what worthy meant. They trusted the Caretaker to know when the time came. For 12 million years, the Caretaker had waited and wondered. Now, sensors that had been sleeping for ages came alive. Something was happening on the surface. Something new. The Caretaker turned its attention upward. Through thousands of tiny sensors hidden in the stone, it watched the crash site. It saw the small ship lying broken on the ancient ground. It saw the fire and the smoke. It saw the creature that crawled out. The Caretaker studied this being with great interest. It was small, soft, fragile in ways that most species were not. It had red blood that dripped from wounds on its head and body. It moved on 4 limbs, though it seemed designed to walk on only 2. The caretaker searched its vast memory banks. After a moment, it found a match. Human, a young species from a small planet called Earth. They'd only been traveling between stars for about 300 years. In cosmic terms, they were babies. The caretaker had files on them, gathered from monitoring communication signals across the galaxy, that they had never visited this moon before. The human was badly damaged. The caretaker could see broken bones through its sensors. It could detect internal bleeding. The creature was dying. It watched as the human lay on the ground, looking up at the towers. It expected the creature to simply die there. That was what most beings did when faced with certain death. They stopped. But this one did not stop. The caretaker watched with growing interest as the human began to move. It was crawling, dragging itself across the stone with obvious pain, moving toward the nearest tower. Why? The caretaker could see no logical reason. The human could not save itself by reaching the tower. There was nothing there that could help it. The creature must know it was going to die. Yet it kept moving. The caretaker watched for an hour. Then 2. The human was so slow, so weak. Several times it stopped moving, and the caretaker thought it had finally died. But each time, after a few minutes, it started crawling again. Near the end of the 3rd hour, the human reached the base of the tower. It pulled itself up onto the first step. Then it collapsed. The caretaker waited. The human did not move for a long time. Its breathing was shallow. Its heart was slowing down. Death was very close now. Then, somehow, impossibly, the human started climbing. It could not walk. It could not even crawl properly anymore. But it pulled itself up the ancient stairs one at a time. Each movement took enormous effort. Each breath was a struggle. The caretaker had seen many things in 12 million years. It had watched stars explode. It had seen black holes swallow planets. It had witnessed the rise and fall of empires that spanned thousands of worlds. This small creature, dying alone on forgotten stairs, was one of the most remarkable things it had ever seen. Not because of strength. The human was weak. Not because of intelligence. The human was average for its species. But because it would not stop. The builders had left their knowledge for the worthy. For 12 million years, the caretaker had tried to understand what that meant. Was it the smartest species? The strongest? The most advanced? No. Watching this broken human drag itself upstairs, it would never finish climbing. The caretaker finally understood. The worthy were those who did not give up. Those who faced impossible situations and kept trying anyway. Those who reached for the unknown even when reaching meant suffering. The caretaker made a decision. For the first time in 4 million years, it took action. Deep within the tower, ancient machines hummed to life. Doors that had been sealed since before the dinosaurs walked on Earth began to open. Light-filled passages that had known only darkness. The human had fallen again at the top of the first staircase. It was barely breathing now. Its eyes were closed. Death was seconds away. A beam of soft golden light reached down from above and wrapped around the small, broken body. The caretaker had found what it was looking for. Now the real work could begin. Gina woke up floating in light. For a long moment, she could not understand what was happening. She remembered pain. She remembered crawling. She remembered the stairs and the darkness coming for her. Now there was no pain. Her body felt warm and comfortable, like she was resting in a bath of sunlight. She looked down at herself. Her wounds were closing. She could see her skin knitting back together, the cuts sealing themselves as if time was running backward. Her leg, which had been bent the wrong way, was straightening. She felt her ribs shift inside her chest, and suddenly breathing did not hurt anymore. She was floating in a chamber made of soft golden light. The walls seemed to glow from within. There was no floor beneath her, but she did not fall. She just hung there in the warm brightness. Then she heard the voice. It was not really a voice. There was no sound at all. But words formed in her mind. Ideas and meanings appeared as if they had always been there. You are dying. I am preventing this. Please do not be alarmed. Gina's heart beat faster. She looked around but saw no one. Just the light and the glowing walls. What? She tried to speak, but her throat was dry. She swallowed and tried again. What are you? I am the caretaker. I was made by those who built this city. I have watched over it for 12 million years. I have been waiting for someone like you. Someone like me? Gina shook her head. This had to be a dream. She was dying on those stairs, and her brain was making up stories. I'm nobody. I'm just a scout pilot. You are the one who did not stop. The light around her shifted. Images appeared in the air. She saw herself crawling across the stone. She saw herself climbing the stairs. She watched herself fall and get up, again and again. In 12 million years, many have come to this place. Many species. Many individuals. Some were smarter than you. Some were stronger. Some had technology far beyond what your people have built. The images changed. She saw insect creatures with glowing eyes. She saw shapes made of mist floating through the towers. She saw tall beings with gray skin walking the ancient streets. All of them stopped. When they found no easy answers, they left. When they faced difficulty, they gave up. When death came close, they surrendered. The images faded. Gina was alone in the light again. You did not stop. You were broken. You were dying. There was no hope of survival. Yet you kept moving. You reached for the unknown, even as your life slipped away. Gina did not know what to say. It seemed like such a small thing. She had just wanted to see the towers up close before she died. That was all. That is everything, the caretaker said, and she realized it could hear her thoughts. The builders were wise beyond measure. They could shape stars and bend space. They understood secrets of the universe that your people will not discover for millions of years. But above all things, they valued this, the spirit that will not give up, the heart that reaches for more even when all is lost. Why? Gina asked. Because that is how life grows. That is how species learn and change and become better. Not through easy success, through struggle, through failure, through the choice to continue when continuing seems impossible. The healing was almost complete. Gina could feel strength returning to her body. Real strength, not just the absence of pain. The builders left this place as a gift for the worthy. They could not take their knowledge with them where they went. So they left it here, protected, waiting. Waiting for what? For your species. For humans. Gina felt something cold in her chest. Fear, wonder, both at once. You can't mean that. Humans are young. We've only been in space for a few centuries. There are thousands of species older than us, smarter than us, and none of them proved worthy. None of them showed the quality the builders valued most. The light began to fade. Gina felt her feet touch solid ground. She was standing in a vast hall. Columns of crystal stretched up into darkness. The floor was smooth white stone that seemed to glow from within. You are the first of your kind to come here, but you will not be the last. Your people will follow. They will learn what the builders knew. They will carry that knowledge to the stars. Gina walked forward slowly. Her legs worked perfectly now. Everything worked perfectly. She felt better than she had in years. She reached out and touched one of the crystal columns. It was warm under her fingers. She could feel something humming inside it, energy, power, life. I don't understand. I'm one person. How can I represent all of humanity? The caretaker's voice was gentle. You cannot. But you showed what your people are capable of. The spirit lives in all of you. Some feel it more strongly than others. But it is there in your entire species. That stubborn refusal to accept defeat. That hunger for knowledge. That need to explore, to learn, to grow. Gina thought about Earth. She thought about human history. All the times her people had faced disaster and found a way through. All the struggles and failures and small victories that had brought them to the stars. Maybe the caretaker was right. Maybe that was what made humans special. Not intelligence or strength, but stubbornness. The simple inability to give up. I will teach you, the caretaker said. Not everything. A human mind cannot hold all that the builders knew. But I will teach you the foundations, the principles, the beginnings. Why me? Because you are here. Because you earned it. Because 12 million years of waiting has finally ended. Gina took a deep breath. It still felt strange to breathe without pain. Okay, she said. I'm ready to learn. Good, the caretaker replied. We have much work to do. Days passed. Then weeks. Gina lost track of time inside the Crystal City. There was no sun to mark the hours. No night to bring sleep. She ate food that the caretaker made for her. It appeared from small openings in the walls. Simple things. Bread and fruit and water. Enough to keep her alive while she learned. And she learned so much. The caretaker showed her wonders beyond anything she had imagined. It showed her how the builders had bent light and gravity to their will. It showed her machines that could turn energy into matter and matter into energy. It showed her medicine that could heal any wound and cure any disease. But it was not easy. The knowledge was so vast, so complex. Gina was a pilot, not a scientist. She understood ships and navigation and combat. The things the caretaker showed her were like trying to read a book written in a language she had never seen before. She failed constantly. The caretaker would explain something. Gina would think she understood. Then she would try to repeat it and get everything wrong. One day, after failing to understand a simple energy conversion principle for the 100th time, she threw up her hands in frustration. I can't do this. It's too much. I'm not smart enough. The caretaker's response was calm. You are failing. That is correct. But you are still trying. That is also correct. What good is trying if I never succeed? You have succeeded many times. You learned the basic principles of gravity manipulation yesterday. You understood the foundation of crystal growth last week. You are making progress. Too slow. At this rate, it will take me 1,000 years to learn everything. It will take much longer than that. But that is acceptable. The knowledge is not going anywhere. And neither are you. Gina paused. What do you mean? Your body has been repaired completely. But I did more than just heal your wounds. I made improvements. Your cells now regenerate perfectly. You will not age. You will not get sick. Unless something destroys your body completely, you will live for a very long time. Gina sat down heavily on the glowing floor. Immortality. The caretaker had given her immortality like it was nothing special. You should have asked first. Perhaps. But you were dying. There was no time to ask. And I needed you to live. You are the first worthy one in 12 million years. I could not let you die. Gina wanted to be angry, but she could not find the feeling. The caretaker had saved her life. It was hard to complain about how. She stood up and took a deep breath. Okay, show me the energy conversion thing again. This is why I chose you, the caretaker said. There was something like warmth in its voice. Not just your species. You specifically. You do not stay down when you fall. Gina almost smiled. Stubbornness is a Park family tradition. My grandmother used to say we were too stupid to know when to quit. Perhaps wisdom and stupidity are closer than people think. The lessons continued. Meanwhile, far away, something was happening. When Gina's ship had crashed, her emergency beacon had been damaged but not destroyed. It was still sending out weak signals. For weeks, those signals had traveled through space, too faint for most receivers to detect. But human technology had improved greatly in recent years. A listening station at the edge of explored space picked up the signal. It was scrambled and broken, but it was definitely from a United Earth vessel. Admiral Kim Taiho received the report in his office on Luna Station. He was an old man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had sent thousands of pilots into space over his long career. Many had not come back. He had learned to accept loss, but he never stopped looking. He studied the signal data carefully. The location was strange, far beyond any map system, in a region of space that nobody had explored. What was Lieutenant Park doing out there? He asked his aide. Unknown, sir. Her last reported position was nowhere near this location. She must have made an emergency jump. The Admiral nodded slowly. Emergency jumps were desperate acts. The survival rate was less than 1%. But there was a signal. Weak and broken, but real. Send the Horizon, he said. Full speed. The Horizon was a heavy cruiser under the command of Captain Lee Yuna. She was young for a captain. 32 years old with sharp eyes and a reputation for getting things done. When she received her orders, she did not hesitate. Set course for the signal location, she told her crew. Maximum speed. We have a pilot to find. The journey took 3 weeks. The Horizon pushed its engines to the limit, burning through fuel at a rate that would have made the accountants back home cry. Captain Lee did not care about fuel costs. A pilot was missing. That was all that mattered. When they finally reached the system, they found something none of them expected. The moon hung in space, gray and brown and unremarkable from a distance. But when they got closer, their sensors went crazy. Captain, the science officer said, his voice shaking. You need to see this. Lee looked at the display. Her breath caught in her throat. Towers of black crystal. Domes of white metal. Structures that could not possibly exist on an uninhabited moon in unmapped space. What is that? Someone whispered. Lee knew what it was. Everyone who traveled in space knew the stories. The builders, she said softly. We found the builders. And standing on top of the tallest tower, waving at their ship, was a small human figure in a pilot's uniform. Lieutenant Park Gina was alive. And she was smiling. The shuttle from the Horizon landed in front of the central tower. Captain Lee Yuna stepped out first, her hand resting on her weapon. Behind her came a team of soldiers and scientists. They all stopped when they saw Gina walking toward them. She looked different, healthier than anyone had a right to look after being missing for weeks. Her eyes seemed brighter somehow, more alive. Lieutenant Park, Lee said slowly, we received your emergency beacon. We thought you were dead. Gina smiled. It was a strange smile. The smile of someone who knew something wonderful. I almost was, she said. Then I wasn't. It's a long story. We have time. Gina shook her head. No, we really don't. There's so much to show you. So much to explain. She looked past Lee at the crystal towers rising behind her. This place is a gift, Captain. A gift for all of humanity. And I've been waiting weeks to share it. She led them inside. The soldiers were nervous at first. Their weapons stayed ready. But as they walked through the ancient halls, seeing wonders that no human had ever seen. The fear slowly changed to something else. Wonder, amazement, joy. The caretaker spoke to them all. Its voice appeared in their minds, gentle and patient, explaining what this place was, what the builders had been, why they had left their knowledge behind. Lieutenant Beek Dohan, a young tactical officer with curious eyes, was the first to ask the question everyone was thinking. Why us? Why humanity? We're so young compared to other species. So primitive. The caretaker's answer echoed in every mind present. Because in 12 million years, across 100,000 species, your Lieutenant Park was the first who did not stop. She was broken. She was dying. She had no hope of survival. Yet she crawled toward these towers because she wanted to see them before the end. She reached for the unknown, even when reaching meant suffering. Everyone looked at Gina. She seemed embarrassed by the attention. I just wanted to see what was here, she said quietly. That's all. That is everything, the caretaker said. That is the quality the builders valued above all others. Not intelligence, not strength, not advanced technology, but the spirit that will not give up. The heart that reaches for more, even when all seems lost. It continued. We have watched many species. The Veth had greater armies. The Falori had more advanced science. The Keth were fiercer warriors. But when faced with difficulty, they all stopped. They all gave up. They all walked away. The voice seemed to grow warmer somehow. Humanity does not stop. You struggle and fail and try again. You fall down and get back up. You lose everything and start over. This quality runs through your entire species. It is in your history. It is in your stories. It is in the very way you think. Captain Lee looked around at the ancient walls, at the machines that still hummed with power after millions of years, at the crystals that held knowledge beyond anything humans had ever dreamed. What happens now? She asked. Now you learn. Now you grow. Now you become what the builders hoped you would become. Gina stepped forward. I've already started learning. The basics are not that hard once you understand the principles. We can teach others. We can bring more people here. Scientists, engineers, teachers. The whole species, Lee said slowly. You're talking about sharing this with all of humanity. That was always the plan. The builders didn't save this for one person. They saved it for everyone. For every human who will ever live. The next few months were chaos. Ships came from Earth, from Mars, from every human colony in the galaxy. Scientists arrived with hungry eyes and eager questions. Engineers came ready to learn. Teachers came to understand so they could share that understanding with others. The caretaker taught them all. Not everything at once. Human minds needed time to grow into the knowledge. But piece by piece, bit by bit, humanity began to learn what the builders had known. Energy generation that made fusion look like a campfire. Medicine that could cure any disease and heal any wound. Materials stronger than anything humans had ever created. Transportation systems that could move ships across the galaxy in hours instead of months. And more, art and music and philosophy. Ways of thinking that opened new doors in human minds. Understanding of the universe that made everything seem bigger and more beautiful. The Keth, who had shot down Gina's ship, heard about what was happening. They sent warships to take the knowledge by force. The same weapons that had nearly killed Gina were turned against humanity. They did not work. Human shields, though using builder principles, stopped every shot. Human weapons, powered by builder energy systems, disabled the Keth fleet without killing a single alien. When it was over, humanity offered the Keth a choice. Join them as equals. Share in the knowledge. Grow together. The Keth, who had known only conquest and cruelty for thousands of years, did not understand. But they accepted. And slowly, they began to change. Other species came too. Some with fear. Some with greed. Some with hope. Humanity welcomed them all. 50 years passed. Admiral Park Gina stood on the bridge of the exploration vessel Persistence. She had been promoted many times over the decades. Now she commanded the most advanced ship humanity had ever built. But she still felt like that wounded pilot crawling across ancient stone. The universe had changed as he crashed on that moon. Humanity had spread across the galaxy, carrying builder knowledge tempered by human creativity. They had ended wars that had lasted centuries. They had cured plagues that had killed billions. They had built wonders that even the builders might have admired. And they had kept exploring, always reaching for more. Now, at the edge of the galaxy, their sensors had found something strange. An anomaly in space. Something that should not exist. Something impossible. Her crew looked at her, waiting for orders. Gina smiled. She thought about the caretaker's words from so long ago. The spirit that will not give up. The heart that reaches for more, even when all seems lost. That had not changed. Humanity was older now, wiser, more powerful than anyone could have imagined. But they were still human, still curious, still unable to leave the unknown unexplored. "Take us in," Gina ordered. "Let's see what's out there." The Persistence moved forward into the impossible. Behind them, across the galaxy, humanity continued to grow, to learn, to reach. The ruins had been silent for 12 million years. They were not silent anymore. And the story was just beginning. The end.